Hey everyone, this is a video about how I built a box for my girlfriend. The box is a bread proving box. She's laughing at me. What do you call it?
A proving box.
A bread proving box. So made her a box so she can prove her bread. So hopefully you enjoy, and if you look at here for the plans, they'll be at the end and you can check them out. So the situation we were in was that we were in lockdown and, girlfriend needed something and she wanted a bread proving box. So I got her to send me a size of the largest tray in her kitchen so I could build it around those parameters. Anyway, after a bit of and ahhing and back and forth, and I came up with some ideas, and I got on Google, got on YouTube, and I found some information about how I'd go about it. So after a bit of research, I went and got some materials and parts. So I started off on Amazon and I got a heat map. It's a reptile heat mat for reptile enclosure, temperature controller, and some wire racks. So if you didn't want to put the trays in the actual shelves, you could actually just sit them. You could put like a bowl or something inside. You'll see that in the video. I picked up some lights, fittings, and handles from the Bunnings in Australia. That's a little hardware store that you can go and get stuff. It's pretty well known here. Paint and varnish, and I settled on wood that was laminated tabletops from Bunnings. I can't really remember what they were called, but they were pine and they were quite easy to use. So since they're all one big piece, I sort of settled on those parameters. After I got all the wood and the parts, I used a program called SketchUp to make a model and make a cut list for the bread box.
Alright, now to work.
So I got the cut list plans printed off. Then the magically appearing wood, here we go. Oh my god. So I started off removing all the packaging from the wood, and started after that measuring up the plans on the wood. Off to the cutting table. Cutting up all the different cuts that I measured out on the two tabletops. Here I'm making the battens for the shelving so that you can keep trays in there at different levels. Got the little miter jig out, just cutting off all the pieces. Cut list done. All the pieces have now been cut, ready to go to the next stage. Next day I made a jig to help me put together the box. Mum has a little look-see. Putting the box together was quite difficult on your own, but with the help of the jig and some clamps I got it together. Here I've made a jig to help me measure out the levels for the battens for the individual shells. Looking back on it now, I probably wouldn't actually have drilled from the outside in. You'll see later why. I just wanted to make it more waterproof on the inside with as little surface area as possible. But here you can see me measuring them out, making sure they're all level, and then I'll probably move on to the next side. drilling all the holes for the pilot holes for the screws for the battens, and then I measure up the next side. What do you reckon, B?
Pretty good.
This is probably the hardest part of the whole endeavour, making sure everything was square. I probably over-engineered it a little bit, but looking back at it now, I think I did quite well.
Very well.
Alright, quick dry fit, make sure everything fits, and then start with the gluing and screwing. I didn't wait to let the glue dry, I just glued and screwed because the screws pretty much held it all together. So there's the sides, the roof, and this is now the back wall of the bread box. Getting it all in there, seeing how good my cuts were. Put the back in. Now to put the battens in, I just used the same size wood again to actually make sure the battens were evenly spaced on both sides so they matched up and level. It didn't have to be perfect, but it was close enough. Here you can see why I was trying to measure it up on the back to make sure when I drilled holes in, I wouldn't be making holes on the inside. Here I'm adding the brackets for the handles, making sure they're both at the same height so you can carry it evenly. And then put make sure the front door was on, and the base. The base I had to put a spacer block in between because it started to bow. You can probably see in the video. And then once that was all together, I made sure it was all done. Next day I went around with the router, cleaned some edges. Here I'm attaching the fasteners for the cabinet door. It was actually a lot more trickier than I thought doing the cabinet door this way because it was a lot harder routing out all the holes and making it all lined up. I probably would just use a normal hinge next time. I'm not a cabinet maker. Here I'm making a hole for the power points with a router. It was easy going, just making sure I did little bits at a time. Here I'm putting putty in all my holes. This is why I probably wouldn't do this again that way. So many holes to fill, and you can tell actually on the finished work where they all are. Finish with the light sanding, get rid of all the putty, make sure you get pine coloured putty, it doesn't stand out as much. Give it all a good sand, always a good sand.
So smooth.
Quick test fit with all the racks and the actual heat mat, make sure it all fits. Looks pretty good I think. Double check a few other things. Also gave it a quick terps out to get rid of all the excess sawdust. Also preps the wood for when you actually want to paint it. Next day I did a paint. I actually did 2 coats to make sure it was nice and even. And then I varnished the door frame, the actual door, so it was stilled out a bit. I think it would have looked better like that. Next day I gave it a little bit of a light sand and a quick old polish up with some polish. Next day after everything was dry, I decided to put on the seals and the other components, put it all together. Seals will help with stopping the air from leaking out of the actual box and keep the inside nice and warm for the bread proving. Here I'm putting the hinges in, making sure everything is adjusted and fits right. Like I said before, I'd probably do different hinges, not these silly cabinet ones. They were so finicky. So hard to adjust, and they didn't really seal as well as I thought. I actually ended up getting a little bracket so that the door actually locked into place, because it just would not stay shut. Adding the handle, and adding all the other handles that were required that I put in. Popping them through the paint, screw them all in. Alright, last things to be put in were the actual heating components. Got the heat mat for the reptile cage, the temperature control, a little hand sensor light. It's a bit finicky, but it works. And then I routed all the cables and tied them up around hooks and stuff so they were a bit more neater. They weren't so dangling all over the place. What do you reckon so far?
Pretty good.
Yeah? What do you reckon I should have done differently? Nothing?
Nothing.
You're happy with it? Of course you are.
Perfect.
The end product. Door opens, you got your wire racks, you got your heat map, got the shelves, battens for when you want to put actual full trays in, or if you want to put a bowl you can use these little racks that I bought. The heat pad's pretty good, does the job, little temperature sensor and the sensor light. Pretty much all the components are required. Probably wouldn't use a sensor light next time. Handle, temperature control unit, and the plugs and the excess wire. One wire's for the temperature control unit and the other one's for the actual light. Here I'm testing out the actual workings of it. You can see it's 16 degrees on the outside and it's 21 according to the temperature control. It can go up to 30. It actually can go up a lot further, but 30 was all I wanted to try. Put the thermometer in, I'll close her up and give it a test. So come back later and see what it's like. Try out the light too. It's a bit finicky. Maybe we wouldn't have put that in. Alright, let's check it out. It's 23 degrees. We'll have a look inside. It's pretty warm. 22 degrees, so I reckon that's going pretty well. There's the final product. Here, quick test. Make sure it's working, and I think my girlfriend agrees it works. Here's her trying it out. Got some bread. What is it? Bread, yeah?
Yeah.
Bread, maybe brioche. Give it a test. Put her bowl in there. I don't know why she's wrapped it. I'll have to ask her. So in the end, it was a pretty good experience putting it all together. Girlfriend improved. I'm sure you can check her out on her video, see what she did with it. What do you reckon?
Pretty good. I'm a happy girlfriend.
Oh, that's good. Things I'd probably do differently would be probably get another heat map. That heat map only goes up to about mid-20s doesn't get much higher than that. So if you needed a hotter situation, you might need to do like a heat lamp or even another heat map, and maybe have 2 or 3 of them. It does have the option to put a cooling ability in, maybe like a fan for the actual device, so it's only really used for the heating, not the cooling. Hopefully I can put all the parts in the description below, and if you have any questions, yeah, hit me up and I'll try and answer them. Alright, thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!
Thanks, guys.